And I've been duly notified.
To introduce my friend, Eugen Popa. We are friends now, I think, since back in 2009 or 2010. Is that about right?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a long way
we met.
back.
Yeah, we met on Facebook, and we've spent many times together at conferences. And he was so kind to have us visit Romania and teach at a class there. And we spent Halloween together, Halloween night at Dracula's castle, not even realizing it was Halloween. I was wondering why people were in costumes. We were in the middle of this like two month tour, and we had such a wonderful time. And he's such a wonderful host. And through the years, sometimes we studied together on back then Skype, and would watch things together and discuss them. So I'm just so pleased to introduce you to my friend Eugene Popa from Romania.
The crowd goes wild. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. It's an honor for me to be here in front of you, and I'm looking forward to this talk, to this presentation. We called it the Regression Trifecta. And the reason for this is because I want to share with you a couple of ways in which you can do regression. I am starting from a presupposition that you are already practicing hypnosis and regression. And so you're not like total newbies and whatnot. So you do have ideas on how to play with this technique, with this method. And so I'm not going to start so much into the nitty-gritty of it, but actually I'm going to share a few different ways which I've learned over the years on how to use regression. And I would start off by saying that personally, the two best ways of working with a client by far, and when I say by far, that's like over 90% of all the sessions I'm doing, they are actually based on two different types of interventions, techniques, which is regression and parts therapy. So I use both of them interchangeably. Either I start regression and go to parts, or I start with parts and then I do regression. And the two of them are, for me, like they yield the best results, bar none. So with that being said, of course, you're all familiar with the usual way of doing regression, uh, following an emotion. Now, even though you have this knowledge and information, I would like to go into a bit of a detail with this and kind of like I said, give you the steps that I'm using, which probably you'll find familiar or maybe not, but either way, it'll be a learning experience for all of us together here. So when I learned regression, I was studying with Jerry Kine, and of course he is like the symbol of regression in the hypnotic world, and he's coined the term of find the cause and fix it, and the way he was doing regression was very intensive in a sense of you have to find the emotion and then from that emotion then start to fire up. Now, what I found is that especially when I'm teaching regression, when I get to the point where I actually explain how it's done, I automatically start to talk very, very fast. And students, you always they like, go slow because I need to write down what you're saying. And it's kind of difficult to go slow because if I go slow, it's kind of, I lose my track of mind if I go slow. So now doing regression in this way, what I found is that, for instance, if we go from a emotional cause, if we are basing our intervention on the premises that there is an emotional cause that is at the root of this issue that the client is having, then the way to proceed forward then is to uncover the root cause, which is the emotion. And now a lot of people here get stuck and get, they don't know how to proceed with this. And so here's the way I'm doing it. Which is not necessarily my way that I created, but it's the way that I've learned and then that I've kind of moved forward with. And so that is that, okay, let's say somebody comes with a problem, with an issue, whether it's a physical or an emotional issue. They come with some sort of an issue, right? So if they come with a physiological problem, then the verbiage here, the words that I'm saying are along these lines. And so let's say I'm talking to you as a client now, and I say, there is a cause, there is an emotion that is causing this issue to exist. Let's just give an example for the ease of explanation. Let's just say, I don't know, shoulder pain, okay? So the client says, I have shoulder pain, I've done all of the tests, all of the, all of the checks, there's nothing, they couldn't find anything, there's no, the doctor couldn't find absolutely anything for this problem. So then I say, okay, step number one, identify a moment when you've had this issue, when this was a very intense, problematic issue for you. So either find the most problematic situation or the last time when it happened, all right? And then once they identify that moment, I automatically immediately start talking present tense, and they say like, I was driving to work, and then I say, so okay, so now when you are driving to work right now, and I always bring the tense in the conversation to present tense, right? So even if they keep talking about it in the past, I always bring it to the present. And if they continue to do that, because that's kind of like a subtle suggestion for me to talk in present tense. But if they still continue to talk about it in the past, I say, okay, talk to me as if it's happening right now. Like right now you're in the car, you're driving. What is happening, right? So then the client says, okay, so I'm driving and I'm at the wheel, and then suddenly out of the blue, I have this huge pain in my right shoulder. And it feels this, that, and the other. All right. I said, perfect. And so one way to identify the perfect moment for this situation, like the maximum intensity, I use this metaphor. I say, imagine that I'm video recording you as you are driving to work. And we are watching this tape right now. We're watching this recording right now with you driving to work. So imagine that that's happening. You're driving to work. I'm recording you. And then as we are now watching the recording stops automatically by itself at the moment of the highest intensity, right? So I'm not necessarily telling them to remember, but rather I say the video recording stops itself at the highest, at the most intense moment. And you tell me what that moment is. And more often than not, you'll discover that if you do this, they will usually say something else than what they would normally say. And I'll give you an example to exemplify this. Earlier, I was working with a client, and she said, I am about to meet a person, and I feel very awkward. And I said, when do you feel awkward? And then she says, when we shake hands. And then I said, okay, now imagine I'm recording this, and now you're watching the recording, and the video stops by itself in the most awkward, when the feeling of awkwardness is the most intense. When is the video stopping? And she said, well, actually, when this person walks up to me. So it's like, I'm saying, so it's not when you shake hands. She says, no, it's when I see the person walking up to me. All right, so that's the moment. That's the true moment, right? So now we've identified the moment. And now that we have this, like coming back to our example with the driver, I say, okay, so you're driving, you're in the car driving, and now you have the shoulder pain, and the recording stops automatically by itself. And tell me the moment. And this person says, I don't know, when I see the red stop sign. Okay. And then I say, okay, now hold on to this, hold on to this moment, hold on to this moment, and hold on to this sensation in your shoulder. And if the sensation is not strong enough, then the first thing that I do, I say, now, on a scale from 0 to 10, how intense is that this discomfort, the pain? And if they say 3, 4, 5, 6, it's not good enough, right? So what I need to do, I need to intensify the sensation, because the stronger the sensation, the easier it is to access the emotion that generates the sensation, right? So this is very, very important. The more, because it's like the more intense is the pain, the stronger the motivation, okay? So they are more involved in it, right? It calls more of their attention to it. So if they say if it's anything below 6, 7, then what I do, the first thing is, all right, now let's say in your car, what is the level of discomfort? They say, I don't know, let's say 5 or 6. So what I do, I say, now I'm going to count from 1 up to 5, and with each number I say, I want you to crank up that intensity to make it a 10, to actually make it the most intense that you've ever had. Like even more intense, even more unpleasant than the worst time you had it. I want you to make that even more aggressive than that, even more intense than that point. So I say, okay, 1, bring that up. 2, feel like it's bubbling and boiling and becoming even stronger and more intense. 3, kind of like a volcano that is about to erupt. 4, so intense and so powerful, so disturbing that it's like it occupies the entirety of your mind. And with the next number, it's going to be at the top, at the maximum. 5, and now it's maximum. Now hold on to it. And as you hold on to this emotion, to this sensation, rather, as you hold on to this sensation right now, I'm going to say 3, 2, 1. And when I reach number 1, I want you to tell me the emotion that is generating, maintaining, producing this sensation. 3, 2, 1, first thing that comes into your mind. What is that emotion that creates, generates, maintains, or perpetuates this sensation in your shoulder? And the person says, I don't know. All right. Now, if they say, I don't know, I say, okay, fine. But if you were to know, if you knew, what would that be? And then they say, I don't know, let's say fear or shame or disgust, or it doesn't matter. And I say, perfect. So give me more information. We use this shame or fear or disgust in a phrase or a sentence that I can understand. And let's say the person says, well, I'm ashamed of what I've done. All right. And now we have this emotion. And now that we have the emotion, now we can say, okay, now hold on to this emotion. And sometimes the client can, because they don't like to talk about this particular subject or this particular emotion, they can sometimes unconsciously or sometimes even consciously, they will try to decrease the emotion because it's super uncomfortable for them to have it. All right. Now, if you think, feel, perceive, have the vibration in the aura tell you that that's happening, then what you do, you push up the emotion, right? So in order to access the emotion, you crank up the sensation, and now you kind of like clog that emotion. But the emotion is not strong enough, is weak, right? The emotion is there, but it's meh, again, on a scale from 0 to 10 is maybe a 5. So if that's the case, then you crank up the emotion now. All right. So now you go and say, okay, I'm going to count from 1 up to 5. And with each number that I say, let this emotion become more powerful, more strong, more intense than ever before. This emotion of disgust, let's say, right? So I say 1, allow this disgust to kind of take over your entire body. 2, make it even more intense, more powerful, stronger than ever, like a volcano, like a waterfall that is about to, fall down. 3, the most powerful you ever felt. And with the next number, we're going to go and going to be maximum. 5, now hold on to it. 5, hold on to it. And as I give you another signal, I want you to follow this emotion all the way back to the very first time in your life when you had this emotion coming up into your life for the first time. Hold on to that emotion now. 3, 2, 1, and you're right there. And then I have to move very quick here. Now, When I teach regression, like for instance, on a normal 2-day training, it takes me 2 days to teach the regression. When I do it, it takes me about 15 minutes to do the whole process and back to back, right? But because I have to explain, I have to take time. So now I say, hold on to that emotion. You hold on to it. And now 3, 2, 1, you're right there for the very first time when you felt this emotion for the first time. And then I go very rapid fire questions, 4 questions, very, very rapid fire. Are you alone or with someone? Is it daytime or nighttime? Inside or outside? So these are the 3 questions. And actually what I do, I have a pen, and then I have my notebook, and then I just write, if they say alone, I write an A. If it's inside or outside, if it's outside, I write an O. If it's daytime or nighttime, if it's nighttime, I write an N. So I have A-O-N, so I know it's alone, outside, nighttime, right? So I take these notes, and then what I do, as soon as they give me these 3 bits of information, then I say, so when you're here alone outside and it's nighttime, how old are you? First number that pops into your mind. And then they go, I don't know, let's say 5. Now, if they say 5, my very first question right after, this is like an autopilot. You know, I've done it so many times, it's just, I can't even stop myself from saying it. So the very first question that comes up when they say 5, 6, 3, 2, 8, 7, whatever, right? The very first question that comes out is months, years, days, weeks, 5 what? Right? What 5 what? And they say, and sometimes you can see them 5 months, or they say 5 years, or 5 weeks, or 5 days, whichever, it doesn't matter, but you need to be precise, you need to be specific, right? So let's say they say 5 months. I say, perfect. So 5 months before or after birth? That's the follow-up question. So you use this question for any number below 9. Why? Because you can be up to 9 months in the mother's womb, right? So if they say anything below 9, I would always ask months, years, days, weeks. And then right after that, they say before or after birth. And this, again, guys, this is not because I am a fan of previous lives, past lives, superior lives, parallel lives, or whatever, anything like that. I don't care for that. I personally do not care about past lives. All I care is to get out the information. That's all I care about. If the client perceives that it's a past life, so be it. You know, I don't care. For me, it's just, where is that moment? So now let's say it's 5 months before birth. Perfect. And so I go, okay, so you are, well, for this guy, let's say for this example, because he was outside, couldn't be before birth because he was outside and he was not. So let's say 5 months after birth, right? So it's 5 months alone outside and it's dark. And so as soon as they give me the number, immediately from that point on, I will adjust my tone, my voice, to speak as if I'm speaking to a 5-year-old little baby. What are you doing here alone in the night? What's going on? Why am I doing this? Because it will reinforce their experience. Okay? So you have to play to the tune that they give you. Now, I want to make a pause here in this whole presentation, and I want to bring something up which is very, very important from my perspective, from my point of view, and that is, I do not care, and I don't look into it at all, and I do not mind at all if the information they give me is what we would call true or false. There is no such thing as true or false. It might be that that was something that happened in their life. It might not be. However, in both circumstances, if we operate from the perspective that the unconscious mind job is to help the client and is to protect the client, right? And is to help the client have the best life possible, then the subconscious mind can just say, oh my God, thank God, now I have an excuse to get rid of this issue, and I'll just concoct something here. I'll just make a nice story to allow this to be removed, to allow this to be fixed. So from this perspective, I don't care if it's true or false, if it's good or bad, if it's whatever it is, it doesn't matter for me. For me, all that matters is that I help the client achieve the goal that they want. So I always operate from a perspective that it is completely true and honest. And even more than that, it is an essential piece of the puzzle to help the client achieve their goal. So no judgment on the part of, is this true or false? I don't care. Who cares? Nobody cares, right? So coming back to the story, now the client said, I'm 5 months old, I'm outside, I'm alone, and it's dark, it's night. All right. So then automatically I change my voice as if I were to talk to a baby, to a small baby who is alone outside. And then I ask, so what are you doing here? How did you end up here? What's going on? And so on and so forth. And so from my experience, most times, probably 80% of the times, the very fact of identifying this moment is enough to get the situation solved. It's enough to bring the consciousness, today's consciousness, to bring it to that moment, to bring the light to that experience. Most often is just enough to get the ball rolling for that thing to unfold and start the healing process. Of course, it's not always, but most of the time it is enough. Of course, especially if there are other people involved, and if you need to do work with other people, like forgiveness and stuff like that, then there's more work to be done there. But other than that, this is, just because they are aware and now they go like, oh my God, I never thought about it. Oh my God, I never thought that this is true. Oh my God, in a million years, I could not believe that this is the source of my issue today. And another very important point that I need to make here is that, and this is very, very important to keep in mind when working with clients, is that the cause symptom or the cause problem correlation does not have to be logic, because actually the problem is an emotional one, not a logical one. All right. So very often, almost all the time, actually, almost every time, when the client comes in and says, I think I know what the cause of my problem is, almost always they are wrong, right? I've only seen a very few people who actually had that to be the fact, right? And I'll give you an example here. I have a friend who had a phobia of deep water. So she could not get into water higher than the chest, period. She could get to she loves going to the sea, she loves going in the water, but up to here, nothing above. And they have a nice boat and they like going to sail and stuff like that, but she could not go and swim in the ocean because the water was too high. So she wanted me to work with her, which I did. And when I worked with her, we did, what did I do? I said, okay, now imagine you're at the sea and you're entering the water. And she says, okay, I'm going. Oh my God, it starts to get to me. Oh my God. And I was like, what is the feeling? What are you feeling? Well, I feel this fear. It's such a powerful fear. Okay, now hold on to this fear. 3, 2, 1, go all the way back to the first time you ever felt this emotion in your life. And you're right there right now, alone or with someone, daytime or nighttime, inside, outside. And she says, I'm alone, I'm outside. How old are you? I'm 2. 2 what? 2 months, 2 years, 2 days, 2 what? 2 years. I said, okay, so you're alone, you're outside, it's daytime, you're 2 years old. Where are you 2 years old? And she says, I'm in a ditch by the side of the road. I go, okay. And what are you doing here? And she said, I fell in the ditch and I'm here alone. And I go, okay, is there water? There's no water. I'm just alone in the ditch and I'm crying because I need to get somebody to give me attention, basically, right? And so, okay, so you're in the ditch, you're by the side of the road. And by the way, in Romania, the ditches by the side of the road, they're not that big. They're just like, some kind of like little valley, so to speak. And so she's, I'm in here. There's no water. It's just grass. It's summer, but I just fell, and I just want, somebody to come and pick me up. Well, fine. Okay. So now what do I do? Now we move into what we call, working with the inner child, where the 2 years old representation in her mind would be the inner child. And now I bring the adult, which is the client in my chair. I bring the adult there to take care of the child, to give reassurance, to give love and protection, to give the child everything that the child needs. Once this is done, the job is done, right? And now I've done this session with her. This is like a one session thing, which is basically like 30 minutes. She's been, chatting with her younger self. She's been, doing everything that she needed to do. And then in a week's time, with her family, they left to Turkey on a boat. Everything is nice. And then she sent me photos and videos of her in the water, in the ocean, swimming and shouting and being very happy and whatnot. Like, look, I have no more problem, right? So it goes that fast, right? And for her, of course, there is nobody there to be like the culprit, somebody to blame the problem on, right? And so I'm giving this example because I want you to understand that there is oftentimes there is no logical connection between the cause and the symptom. The client comes with a problem, which is the symptom of a root cause, but this can be something completely different from what is happening here. Okay, this is like 99% of the time this is the case. So now when you find the cause, you find the moment, like I gave you this example with a guy being 5 months old outside alone in the dark, and what is happening. Again, it can be anything. It can be that a leaf fell onto his shoulder, and it was a big leaf, and he got spooked, like horses get spooked by a leaf that rumbles in front of them. So he got spooked, he got scared, and now there is this thing here going on, happening on his shoulder. It might be that. It might be anything. It could be nothing. It could be just that he felt XYZ, and that feeling kind of got clinged, attached, connected to the shoulder, and now it kind of pops out because the symptom in the shoulder is like a valve, like a pressure valve. And every now and then, this pressure valve has to let the pressure go out. And the pressure is that emotion, that initial emotion that got, kind of like got anchored in his unconscious mind. And it kind of accumulates, and then it has to come out. And when it comes out, when it pushes out, he gets the physical manifestation that bothers him, right? And so this is one way of doing it, by going through this kind of a power through, so to speak, way of working, right? So this is one way of doing it. Let's say the good old way, which, like I said, I learned when I studied with Larry, and this was very, like, you need a lot of energy. You need to like be very present and like really stay on top of the things, on top of things with your client. Now, there are a few other ways in which you can do a regression. And of course, you all heard about the timeline therapy. I'm guessing you heard about timeline therapy. Have you heard about timeline therapy? Or timeline, the method, the timeline? Okay, so most of you heard about it. Good. Now, I use that a lot. Actually, not so much. I found one because I'm very lazy. I have to tell you guys, I'm a very lazy person. If I could just do anything without having to do anything, that would be my perfect job right there, right? So because I'm so lazy, I found this way of working, which is very similar to timeline therapy, but I call it the life thread. And I'll tell you what that is. So I say to the client, okay, so you have this feeling, you have this emotion. And then I say, so if this problem, if this sensation were to have a color, what would that be? And they would say red, dark, gray, black, whatever, green. It doesn't matter. Of course, again, guys, there is no right or wrong answer. There is never a right or wrong answer. So what is the color of this sensation? Red, blue, whatever, badaboo, doesn't matter. And then I say, okay, now here's what I want you to do. I want you to imagine that you have a thread in your hands, like a knitting thread. Okay? So I want you to imagine that you have this thread and you hold it by the end. And this thread, be very careful now, pay attention to the words. This thread is dyed in the color of the sensation, is painted in that color. All right? So let's say the client says the sensation, the pain, or the emotion, the problem is red. I say, okay, perfect. Now, I want you to imagine that this thread is painted in red, but that's the thread, the original color of the thread is not red, is whatever else. By the way, what is the original color of the thread? And they'll tell you, well, it's white, yellow, purple, pink, whatever. Okay, perfect. So now we know, right? So this is the original color of the thread. And now this is the color of the problem. And I say, now here's what I want you to do. I want you to look at the thread, but I want you to focus so much on it that nothing else enters your mind, that like your entire mind is locked onto that thread. And I want you to hold the thread. And I even like when I work with them, even online or offline, I say, I want you to hold that. And I do this. I want you to hold the thread in your hands. I want you to look at it. And when I tell you to, I want you to imagine that you go back on this thread. Imagine that this is the thread of your life. This is your life. So now I want you to go back on this thread, go back, backwards. And what I want you to tell me is when you arrive at the time, at the point in your thread where that red color first appeared. I don't want you to tell me when. I don't want you to think about it. I don't want you to try to remember. All I want you to do is just pay attention to the thread, like if this would be the thread, right? This is a cable. So I say, you go back, and they say, oh, I found this is the moment when the red color entered my thread, painted my thread. And say, now stick to that point and tell me, alone or with someone, daytime or nighttime, inside or outside, how old are you? The same questions, right? And they go, and they pay attention. Now, I don't tell them, remember. I don't tell them, try to bring up to you. I don't tell them that. I just say, pay attention to the thread, follow the thread until you get to that point where that color first appeared on your life thread. And they say, well, I got the moment. Okay, perfect. So now, daytime or nighttime, inside, outside, alone with someone, and give me the details. I write it down. How old are you here? And then I just follow the same procedure, right? But this is a very, very simple way of moving along through the session, and it's a very non-directive, if you will. It's very kind of like hands-off, right? You're not like really pushing the client. You just allow them to do the process. All right. So now we arrived at this point, and now since we are at this point, then from here it's business as usual, right? We do the exact same process all over again, but this is just another way of doing regression, okay? And so if you have any questions, please write them down. I'm going to give you the third version, and then I shut up, and then I'll take your questions. So the third way, which I learned from my very good friend and teacher, Gordon Emerson, who is an amazing human being. I've learned from him resource therapy. I highly recommend this. It's a perfect, wonderful method of working with parts. And Gordon had a very wonderful way of doing regression. And let's say you're working with a client. We'll take the same example with the pain in the shoulder. So again, he goes like this. So you have this sensation in your shoulder. Yes. And by the way, in the beginning, when we are working with a client, we are asking the client about their problem, and we call it as they call it, as in pain. If they say, I have a pain in my shoulder. Okay, perfect, pain. Now, after we fix it, we don't call it pain anymore. We call it sensation, perception, discomfort, but we don't bring the word pain up anymore. Okay. So now the client says, I have this pain in my shoulder. What color is it? Well, it's red. And then he goes, okay, now here's what I'd like you to do. So here's the technique. Okay. So he goes, I want you to imagine that you are sitting by the side of the pool, of a pool, with your feet dangling in the water. Okay. Now, of course, this is perfect for people who don't have any water phobia or anything like that, which you supposedly should know, right? So you don't use this with those kind of people. So you say, okay, now I want you to imagine that you're by the side of the pool, sitting and with your feet playing in the water, and you dangle your feet like this in the pool. Are you there yet? Yes, I'm there. And he goes, now I want you to bring that sensation up. And when you have that sensation completely in your mind, when your mind is full of that sensation and of that perception, of that pain, let me know. Wrap your mind around it. When you have it, let me know. And he goes, I have it. And then he goes, okay, now I want you to hold on to this sensation, hold on to this pain, dangle your feet in the pool. And as you do, I want you to look at your feet and tell me, what age would be those feet? If you look at the feet who are playing in the pool, how old would be the feet? How old would be the person who would have those feet? And the client would go, 5 or 3 or 2 or 10 or whatever, it doesn't matter. And he goes, okay, now here's what I want you to do. I want you to look at the feet, 5 years old, 5 months old. And now what I want you to do, I want you to let go and kind of like go into that and be right there when you're 5 years old or 5 months old. And are you alone or with someone, daytime or nighttime, inside or outside, right? So the whole shebang again, right? So the whole spiel here is look at your feet, look at the feet rather. So you hold on to this emotion or sensation, play with the feet, look at the feet, and tell me, how old would be someone who would have those feet who are playing in the water? That's the question, right? Very tricky question. And the client, because you call them out on it, they'll say, oh, it looks very tiny. Okay, how tiny? Or how, oh, it looks very old. I had that too. It looks super old, like how old? Like, I don't know, 90 years old. Okay, fine. So now what I want you to do, it doesn't matter what age it is, but you follow up with, okay, now, as you look at those feet who are at that age, now allow yourself to immerse into that experience, allow yourself to like kind of like slide down. And as you slide off the edge of the pool and you enter into that very experience where this sensation is coming from at 5 years old. Alone or someone, daytime or nighttime, inside or outside. Where are you? What's going on? What's happening? And now you kind of like immersed them into that. Okay? So this is another way of doing regression. I call this presentation trifecta of regression because there was 3 techniques, but there is a 4th one, which, for instance, Freddie Jackman was using, and he is using it very much, with the time chair, where you sit on a chair and then the chair moves back and it goes back to the time when this happened. You can use this now. I'm firing up your imagination because my purpose is not necessarily to share with you a technique or another, but to more than that, to share with you the principles so that you can come up with your own ways of doing it. If you get the principle, it's like now you learn how to fish. And it doesn't matter if you fish big fish, small fish, it doesn't matter. But you get the point, you get the idea, you get the principle. So as I was talking with you now, presenting these 3 different ways, I was thinking, but you can also do it with a portal. And you can also do it like, like Star Trek, pick me up Picard or whatever, engage Enterprise or whatever, right? So you can do it in so many different ways. And so my challenge to you is to come up with your own way of doing it. And why not share with us, share with, with Cheryl's crowd, and make it known, because I can tell you for a fact, if you share it, people will use it. I can promise you that. I can guarantee you that. If you come up with a way of doing this by yourself, then for sure other people will enjoy doing it as well, and you'll get to help other people who are doing regression to use your method, but you also inspire them to, you know, create their own. So yeah, go ahead and how do you say it in Europe? You say the glove has been thrown. It's the ball is in your court now, to put it in American terms. So this was the regression trifecta. Now let me see if you have any questions, or if you have anything that you would like to add to these ideas that I presented to you. Yes, Sharon, sorry.
That was terrific. Thank you very much. Very
Thank you.
enlightening. Yeah. So a couple questions. When you're taking them back, do you ask them if the feeling, when they landed the first memory, if that feeling is familiar or new? Or do you assume that wherever they land, that's where they need to land and they don't need to go further back?
No, I do not assume. It's a very good question. Like I said, I wanted to go through the 3 different ways of doing it. What you're saying is going further with the regression method, because of course they arrived at this point, and I say, 5 months old, right? And inside or outside, daytime or nighttime, all that stuff. Now, after I ask these 4 questions, and let me backstep a little bit. The only reason we are asking these questions is to help them get more clarity on the event where they landed. And when I teach, I tell people, imagine that you have just dropped in a place, and it's very foggy, and you don't see that much, you don't see that far, you don't see anything. But with every question that I ask, which you answer, the fog lifts. So when I say inside or outside, like 25% of the fog is gone. Daytime or nighttime, you answer, another 25% of the fog is gone. And so it's like with every new question that you answer, I basically direct your mind and command your mind to make this experience real, and to kind of like plug it out from the unconscious mind, and now it's right here, so you can look at it, right? So it's like you drag it out from there. Now we look at it. Now I got all of these details, and then, like you said yourself, Sharon, we work with it. And the very first question that comes after we crystallize this experience, the next question is, and as you're here alone outside in the dark, 2 years old, at 5 years old, is this the very first time ever that you had this feeling? Yes or no?
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
So what I do, I ask question 1, question 2, question 3, question 4, and then I say, so as you are 1, 2, 3, 4, is this the first time ever? Yes or no? So I mention again all of the elements that they gave me. I put them all together to crystallize the experience. And I say, when you're here alone in the dark at night, outside, 2 years old, is this the first time ever you had this emotion, this experience? Yes or no? And if they say no, then you know what to do. You just keep on following all the way back until it says it's the first time.
Got it. Beautiful. Thank you. And do you care when they first land on that memory whether they're associated or disassociated? Does it matter?
It does matter, but not so much in terms of if it matters. It doesn't matter if they're associated or dissociated when they land. But this is a very cool question. Thank you so much. What actually matters is that they have to be associated when the problem is fixed. Okay?
So associated as they're going through the process, or to step in and check that it's gone?
So actually, there have been some studies on this that came out recently. I was very happy to see that. So any experience where you are associated is a lot more intense and real, perceived as more intense and real. Now, what does that tell us? Well, if you work with people who want to solve negative experiences from the past, you can get them to replay them dissociated. they will almost always by default re-experience those experiences associated. If you ask them to do that, to re-experience that experience dissociated, you will see that that discomfort goes down. Likewise, if you want to increase the quality of positive experiences in your life, re-experience them associated. So, do you want to have a happier life? Then go back and recollect your memories from your early childhood, but not as if you're watching a movie or a photo, but as if you are happening right now, associated. So you can associate it with all of the positive, you can dissociate it from all of the negative. Okay? Very important. Now, when you work with a client, if you arrive with them at T0, the initial sensitizing event, and this is too much, they will have an ab reaction. So then what do? You bring them back, and now you say, now here's what's going to happen. We're going to go together, you and I, because I'm there with you buddy, so you can, you can rely on me if you need help. So we go together there, but this time, we're just going to watch what's happening to that guy. You and I together are looking, and you're going to tell me what's happening there. Not with you, because you're with me, but what's happening there. So now I dissociate him from the experience. Tell me what's happening. And so he will tell me, and this time the intensity will be lower. And a very cool trick you can do here is this. You can tell him this. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go back to this experience. However, this time I want you to feel like you're observing from above. Now, you can be 10 meters above or 10 feet because you're in the US. You can be 10 feet, 100 feet. You can be 10 miles. I don't care how high you are. But what I want you to do, I want you to, no matter how high you are, you'll see perfectly clear what is happening, like completely clear, as if you're as if you're with your nose right there into it. You'll see everything perfectly clear, but you will be so high up that no matter what happens here, doesn't reach you. No matter what happens here, you're so high above, nothing touches you up here. Nothing disturbs you. You have perfect vision, perfect clarity, perfect understanding, but whatever happens down here or down there doesn't get up to you. So now what we've done, we've dissociated the awareness and consciousness from the feelings and emotions. So now he can replay the event without being affected by it. Right? So you stay up here, you replay this, and you feel, it's like, how are you doing? Oh, I'm fine. It's totally fine. Down there, everything is fucked up, but I'm totally fine. Okay? Once you have this, then you can attempt to put him in and be associated with the same quality of state that he had up here.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. So the session has to end with him being associated, because association means consciousness. Mm-hmm. Means being present and aware, means I'm in the shit, but it doesn't stink anymore. It doesn't touch me anymore. This happens and I don't give a flying beep, right? Whereas until now, just thinking about it makes me scream. Now I'm here, it's happening, and I'm fine. That is the moment when they healed this thing, when they surpassed it, when they left it behind, if you will. Yeah. Right? So the conclusion of any session, or not session, but the conclusion of an intervention, where an intervention can have several sessions. In the end, the conclusion of any intervention has to be with the client associated, fully experiencing that, whatever that is, without being affected in any way.
I got it.
Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So that's why I said I love working with parts in regression, because they perfectly go hand in hand by doing this, right? So you just put them high. How high? so high, then whatever happens down here doesn't touch you. I even do this. It's like theater. It's like that doesn't even matter. It's like it's something going on down there. And I make faces and I make gestures and I change my voice like that. Peanuts. Where they, I don't know, got beaten up, raped, or whatever. Okay? Be there. You're perfectly fine. You observe this, yes, then get in here and see how it feels. It feels bad still, go again high up. But you can go, this was 10 miles, now you can be 1 mile up. So you're still getting closer, not there yet, until you can be here. This is happening, but it's got nothing to do with you.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you for the questions. Excellent questions. Anybody else? Not all at once, please. Not all at once. Pick a number.
Linda
Sorry.
put in a question.
All right. Steve has a question too. So
Who does? Linda?
Go on,
I'm-
Linda's go first, and then I'll do mine if you want.
Yeah, sorry, mine was just a realization. I just did a crystal ball technique training recently, and I just this would work beautifully. It's just as I was thinking of you talking about the pool with the feet in the pool. I was thinking, yeah, entering that crystal ball and moving backwards and then back into the future, or backwards to then the present and then the future.
yeah, perfect. So make sure to write that whole thing down and share with everybody.
Okay, will do.
Looking forward.
Thank you. I really love this presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Steve, you had a question.
Yeah, Eugen, yeah, good to see you again.
You too, mate.
Yeah, really good. Thank you for that. It was really good. There was, and you might have covered this at the beginning, because I was busy doing something I was listening, but I might have missed that little bit. But I used to do, before doing the sports stuff, I used to do a lot of past life regression work. And one of the things that I was taught to do, and I just wonder whether you do this, is to build in a control. So like you said about the disassociation, but build that in advance. So you're saying at any time, if I tell you to pause, this will pause whatever's happening, because of course they could land right. Sorry, they could land right in the middle of a traumatic event that
Yeah.
could, so yeah, I just wonder whether you feel that that's necessary, what you're doing.
So basically what you're referring to, if correct me if I'm wrong, is more like, have a safe place or something like that, correct?
No, not necessarily. It's
No?
almost like a pause. I mean, I used to sometimes say, imagine
Okay,
having
yeah.
like a
Yeah.
video remote in your hand, so you can go, right, pause it. Let's just stop whatever's happening, get a bit of a picture of it, and then you can disassociate. I just wonder whether you built that in as beforehand.
I personally have not used that, but I can totally see the use of it. Like I was mentioning earlier, some people also teach and use the idea of a safe place. So if at any point, the shit hits the fan and it's too intense, you just use your anchor or whatever, and you jump straight out of that experience into your safe place where you feel protected, calm, relaxed, and whatnot. So you can use both of these and with the pause button as well. I personally have never used it. I know about it, but I have not found yet the use for it, to be honest with you. I loved very much, and I teach this myself when I teach courses. When I was studying with Jerry Kine, he had this very cool thing. He said, when you're working with a client and they have an ab reaction, he says, do this and do it with me right now. He says, put your hand up like this, and then put the other hand up like this, and then look up at the sky and say, thank you, God, right? He did not say pause, press the pause button. No, it's just like go full on onto it, because that's the moment, the tipping point, right? If the client has that experience, it means that he's so immersed into that experience that right now, this is the moment when they can break free, right? So if I pause that, or if I take from there and take them to the safe space, I just took away my chance to fix that right there in the moment.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I would never bypass it. I know some people do. They go, well, it's too emotional, so let's move past that. And that doesn't fix it, does it? So yeah, I get that.
Exactly.
Thank
Yeah,
you
yeah.
for that.
And yeah, exactly. And so personally, I don't use it. I know of it, but I don't think I don't find it useful. That's basically it. It's like even looking back at all of the different sessions I've done, I cannot find one session where I would say this would be a good thing to use for this particular session.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
Cheryl,
no,
please
thank
come in. Thank you, Steve.
What a great presentation you've done, Eugen.
Thank
It's
you.
like, wow, I was from New York as fast as you're talking. So, um, two things. Number one, when you're putting them up 10 miles away, in a way, that's also creating that safe space that they can go to, so they're not here, down here in it, they're here watching it, and giving them time to reevaluate and a mindset reset of how they're looking at it. So in a way, that is creating that safe space for them to go to while they're just
Yes,
going through it.
however, the difference is that that is still in touch with or tied to the experience. Whereas if you take the safe space in and by itself, you plucking them out of the experience and putting them over there, right?
Right.
Like you completely remove them from the experience and put them in a safe space. Whereas this going, a mile up, 10 miles, whatever, they are still with the experience, they're just not touched by it.
So you're not taking them out of the experience and then, like for inner child work, and then sending them back with the adult. You're leaving them there and sending the adult in to help
No,
them with the
all right.
resources.
All right. So let's say working with this client, and now they have an ab reaction. They discover the issue, the problem for their shoulder pain, something very, very troubling for them. And they, going into that experience, being fully associated is just too painful. So now we've identified what it is, right? We identified the experience. We know what the experience is, but it's too painful for them. I could still push them there because I'm kind of ruthless when it comes to this, but I don't want to do that. So what do? I say, okay, this is the experience. Now let's put you up here where nothing touches you. You're up there with the angels, where nothing touches you. You look at the experience and play the story. This is, if you will, in psychotherapy world, is what is called exposure therapy. This is exactly it. This is exposure therapy. However, it is exposure therapy without being affected by that thing which you're exposed to. Now, something very, very tricky happens in the mind. This is so mental, if you will. Now, I'll give you an example. Look at this. What do you call this object? What is this?
Okay, marker.
A marker. All right. Now, here's what I want you to do. And I want you to count in your mind. Count this in your mind. All right. In your mind, repeat. Don't do it yet. But in your mind, I want you to count and be observant at what point does the word loses its meaning. So now repeat in your mind, marker, 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 and count how many times do you have to repeat until the word loses its meaning. And let me know what the number is.
Each time I'm saying it, I'm visualizing it. So how does it lose its meaning? Or you're saying the word so many times, it's no longer a distinct word.
Exactly. No, it's not that. If you say pen, 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 you repeat that. At some point, you don't have a pen anymore. You just have a pen, 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 pen. You have a sound, and the sound doesn't have a charge anymore. It doesn't have a significance. It doesn't have any attributes anymore. It's just a sound. Okay. So this is exposure. Repeated exposure decreases the intensity. Okay? And so when you work with someone and you dissociate them from that thing, remember, you're not taking them away from it. You're dissociating them, but still from the subject of the experience. The dissociation is tied to the subject of the experience, all right? To the event. So now you say, now you stay up here, 1 mile, 100 miles, that doesn't matter. And from here, you play this thing which doesn't affect you anymore. And now you play it once, or you play it 2 times, you play it 3 times. Every single time they play this and they stay completely unaffected, what they are actually doing at this point, this is neurobiology, by the way, neuroscience. As long as they do this, with every new repetition, they actually build new neuronal networks, which re-encodes this experience as being totally okay. Not okay of what happened, but okay of not me being affected. Okay? So you're basically re-encoding the experience in the mind. Until now, they had this automatic reaction, like I see this, oh, I have this reaction. And now because you dissociated them, now they have the choice, the freedom of choice to have whatever reaction or response they want to have. And they say they want to be chill about it. So they play this a few times, and every single time they play it, they reinforce new connections, new neural pathways. And so now they basically are habituated now to this response instead of this response, which they had until now. Right? So you create a new habit. Once this is solidified, which doesn't mean you have to do it a gazillion times, 2, 3 times is enough, right? The mind is very habitual. Once this is established, now you bring this into here and repeat it here, because this was established and you created neural connections with them dissociated. But now you take this mental state and affect, you plug it into the experience, and now you repeat the same experience. Now you repeat the experience with them still being unaffected. And so now, every time this experience will come up or the stimulus is going to come up, they're going to have this response, which they just learned now. That's basically what you do. You decode an experience and you recode it to have a different response. That's what we do. Okay, and so initially you make the dissociation from here, you discharge all of the negative emotion because he's right here. You can do this with them dissociated or associated, doesn't matter. But what it matters, again, what I'm saying is you conclude with them being associated, because that's kind of like a proof of the pudding. Here, now you can see that you are having this experience, but it doesn't affect you anymore. And now they have this lived experience. It's not just something mental. It's not like, I wish that would happen. No, this is the truth. This is the fact. Look, you're here. This is happening, and you're just cool as a bum. As a cucumber, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I also wanted to say, when you were doing the thing with the thread, it just reminded me, you were also, Dave Elman was known for pinpoint, so it went and he pinpointed an event. So as you were doing that, it was like, wow, that would have been really cool. He would have really liked that feeling of pinpointing that way, instead of necessarily going back and forth the whole time to do that. And whereas, affect bridge is going to follow the feeling more, you were actually going with that event and pinpointing it. I found that interesting. So thank you.
Yeah. The beauty of this field of work is that you can always create new stuff. And it's not even you creating it. It's kind of like it's channeled through you as you do the work.
Any other questions or comments in the peanut gallery there? Larry Raffi, Dr. Raffi, you've been very quiet. You're never this quiet.
That's because I'm intensely focusing on what he's saying. I have to tell you that as beautiful as the day is, this was worth missing it.
Thank you.
It
That's
was
a wonderful compliment. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
absolutely, yeah. I've learned a great deal. And I have to tell you, I have no experience in this area. I don't have a practice. I'm all just a beginner, and I've learned a lot just in the last hour. So, absolutely.
Wonderful. I'm very happy to hear that. Thank you so much, Larry. That's perfect. Cheryl, is it okay to tell people about the workshop?
Absolutely. Please.
Awesome. So everyone, next Friday and Saturday, I will be doing a regression workshop, 2 days, 4 hours every day. It'll start at, what is it, New York time, noon New York time, which would be 9 a.m. West Coast. So it's a 2-day workshop, 4 hours every day, 4.5 hours every day, where I will go through regression. You also have written material, but we'll also do sessions. I will explain everything. I will even have a whiteboard to paint on, and we'll do some group sessions as well, some practice. And if you would like to join, that would be fantastic. I'll put in here the link, and I actually created a special coupon code for you guys if you want to join. So the class is $197, but you have a $50 discount with the coupon, of course, is Elman. So that's the coupon code. And when you sign up, you will get a $50 discount from the price on the website. And I'll even give you a certificate for participation. And I make very nice certificates, I have to tell you.
So you're saying that this is next week?
Yes, it's next week. It's Friday and Saturday, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Romania time, which is noon to 4 p.m. East Coast, or 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. West Coast.
So I do have to ask you, being that this is like a major holiday in the United States, being Thanksgiving weekend where people have family and stuff.
Yeah.
Is this a course that you would repeat in case they could not make it because of Thanksgiving?
I won't repeat. I mean, not at least not this year, but the training will be recorded. And even if people cannot attend, they can get access to the recordings. And they also have a few very cool bonuses. One of them is a few regression sessions that I've done, where you can see how I do regression in English and in Romanian with English subtitles, just so you know. And you also get access to 2 very, very cool techniques. One of them is called Never Ending Story, which I love very much, and it's an excellent method to apply for anxiety and working with stuff like that. So, very, very, very nice bonuses. I have to tell you, if I were to sell them separately, it'd be about $500-600, but I put them all together in this package so that everybody can get as much value as they want from this training. So yeah, if you cannot make it live, you can still purchase and get access to the recordings when that is available.
Linda had a question.
Yes.
I can't see the link anywhere.
It's in the chat for
chat?
Zoom, in the Zoom chat.
Okay, it's not in my chat. All I'm seeing is my own question before.
You have
Because you're in
to.
question and answer, you need to go to chat.
Oh.
What
You're
are you
in
doing in
Q&A.
question and answer, Linda? Go into chat, Linda. What are you doing, girl?
Yeah. Because it's not on the bottom of my screen. And when I go into more,
See if I can.
Cheryl, you can post. Cheryl, you can give her the link in the Q&A chat as well, I think, because you're the host.
I'm going to do it now.
I have that now. That's okay. That's come up. Thank you.
Now it's in both places.
Thank you. I feel very
Yes,
special.
you are.
Oh,
You are,
and
absolutely.
I forgot to put the code Elman in there.
I'll put a
So,
code.
in case you can't remember that code. So, also Eugen Popa will be speaking at in January at this conference. He spoke at the first one. He'll be speaking at this one. It's always very special.
Thank you so much,
So
Cheryl.
excellent, excellent. And if people are watching this, because this will be part of the 2023 speakers are going to be part of the bonus for the 2024 for the first that sign up for 2024. They'll get all of the ones from 2023 plus the speakers coming up in 2024. So if you're watching this in the future, if you would put your email in the chat, they can always contact you to find out what
Yes.
what you're offering, and if they want to study with you at that point.
Awesome. And also, this is again next year, but I think end of March or beginning of April, we will do a summit on healing suffering, where I'll have people from NLP, hypnosis world, and also from the more academic world, some very, very big names. So if you guys are into that suffering and trauma, then you definitely would be interested in joining that event as well.
Any plans to do any training on the way you facilitate parts?
You know what? Thank you. That's a good question. It's like people almost think like I paid you to ask these questions, but I did not. I wish I would. So with parts, I've been thinking of some sort of a quote unquote unified parts therapy type of intervention. I'm considering. I've been training with Roy Hunter, with Gordon Emerson, with Ed Yeager, with Connie Ray Andreas. So I've had a fair share of parts therapy from some amazing teachers, I would say. And I got to see the different perspectives and the different ways of working with parts. And they're beautiful. I love parts, I have to tell you. I use parts almost more than I use regression. And who knows, maybe one day, one lucky day, I will put it all together to create like a unified version where I pull from all the different perspectives and make one way of doing it, which I personally don't care so much about calling it my method. I'm not really interested in that so much. All I'm interested in is how to get people to have better results. So I don't care for anything else. But yeah, it's most likely going to happen. We'll see when and how. Maybe around the event with the healing suffering summit.
Eugen, it's just like you just did with the trifecta, with the regression, the different aspects of how you do regression and how they can blend together, would be similar with the parts, because so many of us blend together techniques. I think what we're all doing is going to the summits, going to the conference. We're all filling our toolboxes, and you
Yeah.
never know. Sometimes it's years later, and all of a sudden something that we had used or studied or heard at a
Yeah.
conference years ago, even the essence of it pops into our minds, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden we're using it, and it's blending with other things that we've used. So I mean, I love the idea of the trifecta, bringing together. In fact, one of the panels this year is going to be blending techniques,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
that's important.
That's wonderful.
So Thank you so much. Is anybody else have any questions? Oh, and so eugenpa.com,
Yeah,
the
myname.com.
website. Yep. And anybody else? Donna, did you have anything you wanted to add, or Patricia? Where do I unmute?
Sorry,
There you go.
I'm just trying to manipulate everything through Zoom. I was on another previous Zoom call and I'm just a little scattered right now. I just want to say thank you very much. I appreciate this, and what you have been teaching us, and has brought a lot of other things to my mind, as you had mentioned, Cheryl. You know, all of a sudden I'm putting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I said, oh my God, I can do this, I can do this. But I want to say thank you very much. I was trying to write it on a chat because I have to leave soon, but I appreciate these Elman conferences or Elman Zoom calls, because let me put it this way, I'm in the process of my own healing. And
Yes.
as a result, I'm also working with hypnosis, and the two are working together, and I'm healing as a result of helping others through hypnosis. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here, Donna.
Thank you.
Patricia.
Hello. I
Hi.
am glad, I'm really glad to meet you, Eugen. And
you too.
I value everything that you offered us today. It's wonderful. So much to think about. I'll go back and read my notes. And
Awesome.
what it did was it kind of filled out what I've learned about regression work earlier. And it's very exciting. I really enjoyed it.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Linda Hay.
I listen to Eugen quite often from the summit, and we have a
Oh, you
chapter.
do? Well, he's my fan.
We have a chapter for hypnotists in Ottawa, Canada, and we just use some of the people that you brought on, like Tim Box this past week, and so
Nice.
I'm getting to feel like I'm a friend of Eugen's, but I've never heard you present directly like today, so I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm very happy for that. Thank you.
I think everybody got a chance to say something. Larry, you have been quiet.
Yes, it was. I was trying to relate it to other forms, and I was just having trouble putting everything together. So I just enjoyed it very much. I learned quite a bit, and try to stick my 2 cents in didn't seem appropriate.
It's always a pleasure to see you, Larry.
Good seeing you. We miss you.
Yes. Likewise. Likewise.
Okay. So,
All right.
Eugen, thank you. The good thing about small group is everybody gets to say something. They don't escape our class without saying something. So,
Yeah.
And Linda Hayes, you did speak. Linda HC. Hayes Cooper. I get you guys confused all the time. So, all right. Eugen.
Well, thank you so much
anything else
for
you'd like to
today,
say?
Cheryl. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today, and I really appreciate you taking the time. And I'm looking forward to meet you in person sometime in the near future, I hope.
Who us? Oh, it would be such a wonderful thing. It's been so long. Are you coming to the States at all?
I'm not planning necessarily soon, but we'll see. Maybe it's gonna happen. We'll see how things are rolling out.
Hey,
I would
we'll
love
give you
to,
a-
but we'll see. I'll have to make it worth while, so to speak.
If you
Right.
do, make sure you hit North Carolina. We got a place for you to stay.
He knows
Go
it.
Carolina.
Absolutely. And we can run up to Washington and do our late night tour so you get to see everything. That was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah,
All right.
for sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all for
Have a
coming.
wonderful day ahead of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.